want to talk about CGC turn times for graded comic books going up and how I think that that's actually good for the hobby. And basically, what it breaks down to is supply and demand. If the product, and in this case, it's a CGC graded book, they offer a service where they provide their opinion on the grade of a comic book and encapsulate it, resulting in a product. But if it's harder to get the product and the demand stays the same, the price of the product goes up. So I think that with turn times going up, they're harder to get, the value of graded books goes up. And I want to talk a little bit about how you can use these things to your advantage in this hobby. A savvy seller, a savvy collector can use anything to their advantage. Turn times going up, use it to your advantage. Prices going up, use it to your advantage. You know, new release movies, there's ways to figure out how to use all of these things to your advantage. And on this channel, I have a ton of helpful videos about that, the nuance of every little nook and cranny of this hobby. So if you're not already subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you did, if you find this kind of stuff helpful, and go back and look at the backlog of videos of helpful stuff about how to use things like this to your advantage. So back to the supply and demand thing. I want to talk a little bit about what we've seen in recent years with CGC, with turn times, with values of books, and how it all correlates, and how I think we should look at this as a good thing. So back when COVID hit, prices just went through the roof for graded collectibles, non-graded collectibles alike. There's tons of factors involved in that: economy, macroeconomic factors, COVID, surplus checks. Everybody's bored at home. Tons of new collectors coming into the hobby because they're stuck at home with nothing to do. They're on their computer. They're at auctions. They have excess money because of the stimulus checks. All of that played into it. But a big factor in there was turn times for graded collectibles. It was very difficult to get books back from CGC. We were talking 6 months to a year and a half to get your books back. And what happens when the turn time is so long? The supply for comics exponentially goes down because it's harder to get, turn times are longer, and less people submit because of that. If you go and look at these social media posts where people are doing videos about turn times going up, you'll find comments in there of people saying, makes me not want to submit my books. I'm going to hold on to my books then. I'm going to wait until turn times go down. So less people are submitting, and it takes longer for those that do submit. So the supply is the same. At least when I'm talking about supply is the same, I'm talking about for the past month or so. Like, we just saw this increase in turnaround times, and in the past month, I wouldn't say we've had a decrease of interest in comics. Certainly since COVID, there's been a decrease in interest, but I'm talking about this short-term window here where turn times have just gone up. So exponentially harder to get comic books because of this. And honestly, anybody that's been paying attention to the market knows that it will be good to have a decrease in graded comic books. What happened with COVID was we all have this price memory of the premium for a graded collectible. It used to be that you could submit a $5 book, get it graded, and it would take you 6 months to get it graded, but it might be worth $100 or more once it's graded because it was so hard to get, and so few people were doing it because of that. So we have this price memory of a 10x increase in premium. And what happened was when the turn times went down, CGC hired a whole slew of new people, cut those turn times way down to where you could get books back like almost right away. I mean, certainly less than a month, you can get your books back. And because of that, the supply went through the roof. Everybody was submitting books. Not only that, they cut submission prices. They reduced the price to submit books, probably because they had all of these new employees and they saw it started to decline, so they cut prices. So now it's cheaper and faster to get your books back. And what we saw was a flood in the market of graded comic books. Books that shouldn't be graded were getting graded because people thought I could get a 10x premium if I just grade this thing. And the reality is that we're seeing now that all of the supply has come back is you're lucky to get case cost for a lot of books, right? There's tons of nuance to this. A lot of books absolutely should be graded. I've done videos on this channel. Is it worth it to get your books graded? There's certain books where you can get more for it raw, or if you do the calculations, there's a lot of books that you could just sell raw and end up with more money than getting it graded first. So go check out that video if you haven't already, because it really dives into a lot of the details. It's very nuanced. So back to the timeline, CGC just announced that they're doing layoffs, which makes perfect sense as far as from a business standpoint. If, submissions are going way down, interest is going way down, they're going to have to cut some costs somewhere, and it's going to be employees. So that's likely why these turn times increase. So let's hop over to the computer here and see what the current turn times are. For a modern book, it's $25, and the current turnaround time is 42 days. You can use Fast Track and cut that in half, 21 days, for an extra cost of $15. There's some cases where this makes sense, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit about, when I talk about how to use this to your advantage. But let's look at these turn times real quick. Vintage is 81 days. Now, high value is only 10 days, and unlimited value is only 3 days. So if you pay $100 minimum, at 4% market value or $100 minimum, if it's not a very valuable book, you can spend $100 and get it back in 3 days. So there are ways to get it back super fast, but there's very few exceptions to where that actually makes sense. And then reholders, 26 days. Now, these are just estimates, you guys. I have books that are sitting there for reholder that have been there for 60 days. And it is what it is. What are you going to do? Just hurry up and wait. You can call. You can call customer service over and over and over and essentially waste more of your time. Now, not only are you waiting, because all they're going to tell you to do is hurry up and wait, but you're waiting impatiently. So just wait, in my opinion. Don't even call. It's not worth it. It's just, there's nothing they can do. One thing that's interesting here is grade pre-screen. It says NA. So it used to be that grade pre-screen, it would add a bunch of days to the tier turn time. And right now it says NA. So it looks like pre-screen doesn't add any turn time. They probably have a whole new department for pre-screen or something like that makes it the same as moderns. When I see these turn times, I'm not phased at all, because I remember when it was, 265 working days. That's another thing to remember, that these are working days. It says right here, working days. So you'd have to divide 42 by 5, which would be 8.5. So 8.5 weeks, which is more like, 60 calendar days or something like that. So these are working days. It's just an estimate. In almost every case, it's actually longer than this. And tomorrow they can go on here and increase it. It is what it is. But I think it's good for the hobby. And what I did in COVID, a little bit of tips here of how to weather this, it's certainly for sellers. For collectors, it's if you're just grading your own books, there's a different conversation. But if you're selling consistently, what I made sure to do back when turn times were 6 months to a year and a half is I made sure to submit something every single month, because that way I was getting stuff back every single month. And what you want to avoid doing when turn times go way up is saving up your whole submission, sending it all in at once, waiting 3-4 months, whatever it is, get it all back, sell it all right away, and then you have the money to start the process all over again, wait another 3. You have all this dead time in there. So if you stagger it, you have a nice flow. So that's one way to do it. And if you have a nice flow and turn times go through the roof and other sellers don't, you have an advantage. Now you have an advantage because you have the inventory. So that was one thing that I did, was stagger my submissions and make sure I was always getting something back. While I got you guys here, let's check out the new inventory that was just added to brycecomics.com. I just sent out a 20% off discount code today. This video is being filmed on Friday, November 15th, but I often send out special discount codes over there, so a lot of this stuff is selling right away. Make sure you sign up to the newsletter to get access to those discount codes and when new collections come through. By the time you're watching this video, we have 2 massive collections coming through this week. I believe over $100,000 in inventory will be added, so make sure you sign up to the newsletter so you don't miss out. So the other tip related to this is being first to market, okay? Predict and plan ahead for what that hot book is going to be with however long the turn time is. Right now, if it's going to take, it says 42 days. I mean, I would say more realistically 3 or 4 months, right? So what's going to be hot in 3 or 4 months? If you're submitting what's hot today and it takes 3 or 4 months to get it back, it's going to be ice cold by the time it's back in your hands. You'll be lucky to get your grading costs back. That's just the reality of this hobby. And one of the things that, really drives comic book sales is pop culture, movies and TV shows. So let's look at some upcoming stuff right now. Kraven the Hunter comes out this next month. Way too late to submit stuff for this. By the time you get stuff back for Kraven, it's going to be way down. You've missed the boat on this one. Unless there's something revealed in the actual movie that hasn't, hit the markets yet. Even then, I wouldn't even be looking at Craven for spec right now if it's not already graded. Captain America Brave New World comes out in February. Today is the time to submit for this. And a lot of the books for this have already come and went because we've got those previews, the first trailers, and we've already seen the spike for a lot of these books, but there will be more specs to come out of this. So if you're a speculation guy, hit those YouTube videos that talk about Brave New World spec and possibilities, grade them today, and hope you get it back before, the little teaser or trailer happens, or possibly in the movie or in the end credit scene or something like that. But Thunderbolts is in May. This would be closest movie with the most spec potential. If you haven't already got your stuff graded, it's Thunderbolts, because it doesn't come out till May. We've seen some teasers and stuff already, but there will be a lot more. So that's what you got to do as far as that is plan ahead. Avengers Doomsday is not until May of 2026, so plenty of time on this one. Plenty of time with those Doom specs and lots of stuff to come on that. But just be ahead of the curve. Take a look at these CGC turn times and submit way in advance so you have it when it's hot, as far as being first to market. Another thing is you can use that fast track or the unlimited value or something like that. If there's a hot book that comes out and there's just nothing on the market, there's no CGC 9/8 of it because it's kind of like an obscure modern hot book, it could behoove you, and this goes both ways, be a savvy seller and be a savvy collector. If you're going to be first to market, and you have that 9/8 of that book and you pay $100 to get it back in 3 days so you can sell it for $400, if you're the buyer, recognize that first to market sale is probably going to get cut by 50 to 90% by the time. If you can just be patient, you should be patient. But, there's nuance to all of this. Maybe who am I to say that, if you want it, you want to be the first one to own it. Like, why can't you be? Maybe that makes you happy. This hobby is about enjoyment and, enjoying this thing. So if having the one when you want it makes you happy, then you're doing it right, But if you buy that thing and you feel terrible that the price goes down 80%, realize that first to market books are always going to come down in price. Always. It's never going to go up. If you're the first one graded, it's always going to come down. So if turn times are going up and submissions are going down because of it, CGC's already doing layoffs. Guess what's coming next, folks? Price increase. That would be my guess. I would guess that they're going to increase the price of grading comic books. If right now it's $25, they'll likely increase it 8 to 10%. All right. So they might come out and say, hey, we're increasing the fee to $27.50, and people will be up in arms. But in my opinion, an increase in the price of grading comic books will have an increase in the value of those comic books that not only covers the increase, but then some. I think if they increase it 10%, I think the value of it is going to go up 15%. So for example, let's say it costs $25 to grade a book, and that book might be worth $50 once it's graded. If they raise it to $27.50, I think that book would be worth $60, which is more than the increase of the price. So when people get all up in arms about, an increase of 10% in grading fees, I think it's short-sighted. I think in reality, it's a good thing for the value of your books. Now, from the collector's point of view, for those that are watching this, I know a lot of you submit just to have in your own collection. Being patient to get your collectible back, maybe it will help you enjoy it that much more. Or if you have to wait 3 or 4 months to get that collectible back, and you might get it back and realize, I didn't really want this thing anyways, so it might help you to really prioritize what you want to keep in your collection. But all of the most important thing here is just keep in mind that the longer it takes you to get it back, the more valuable it's going to be as a graded product, with the exception of the other things that influence market, like the market values are, going down. But so it's not like a perfect vacuum. There's a lot of factors on this. I just want to throw some ideas out there to help people frame this in a way, one, where they could just have more enjoyment out of the hobby, and two, use it to your advantage. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please consider hitting subscribe. Tons of other helpful videos like this on this channel about how to have this hobby fund itself, the tips and tricks. I mean, we've been doing this for years. There's lots of great information in the backlog of videos. If you subscribe to this channel and leave a comment down below, you're entered to win a free slab this month. I believe we're giving away 2 Todd Spideys again. 2 awesome some giveaways this month. Still haven't heard from J. Thomas Cruz. J. Thomas Cruz, you're a regular commenter. You won last month. Make sure to hit me up. If you make it down to this far in the video, that would be amazing. Also, sign up for the newsletter at brycecomics.com to be entered to win a free slab each and every month and get first access to new collections. And follow me over on Whatnot for $1 starts on slabs almost every Friday. Giveaways, tons of fun over Whatnot. Thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.